Hey guys, I'm Alejandro, your host for the West Coast Initiative podcast. Just wanted to say thank you guys for listening and supporting us. This podcast wouldn't be continuing if it wasn't for our very own family business, the Patty and Alex Party Rentals. We rent out tables, chairs, canopies, throne chairs, games, and we just partnered up with a really good friend of mine to rent out jumpers for kids. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook where you get the more details, get our quotes, DM us, Messenger, even call us in text. We are going to get to you as soon as possible. We want to make your memories great and we want to make your next event easy and simple. So don't forget to check us out. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the West Coast Initiative. I'm your host, Alejandro Castillo, here with another amazing episode here with you guys today. And today, my special guest is Roxnna Clementi, who is a Montessori teacher, professional dancer, and an entrepreneur herself. She's amazing at every single kind of thing that I've seen her do, even at soccer. Whatever she puts her mind on, she is going to go at it. And she is feisty too, because we definitely had some feisty conversations. How you doing, Roxy?
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. How's life? How's the married life treating you?
It's going pretty good. Both very busy right now. Three dogs drives us
Yeah.
crazy, but we love it.
Yeah, I didn't notice. So usually when I before I do an episode or anything like that, I always kind of like either check their Facebook, check their Instagram, kind of like go through their bio and whatnot. I didn't know you had an Instagram for your dogs. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I do. I do.
Yeah, I just saw that. I was like, all right, well, I got to bring this up in the in the podcast for sure. And how's the dog mommy life like?
It's crazy. I mean, I have three different kinds of dogs. You can kind of hear them right now fighting. I gave them two different toys, and they're fighting over them right now. It's crazy. So this is what I deal with. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Um, but I have three different kinds of dogs. I have Dax, who is an Aussie Lab mix, and
Mm.
he's my medium-sized dog. And then I have Tequila. She's a Yorkie Poo. She's actually on my lap right now. She doesn't deal
Oh.
with their chaotic mess over there. And then I have Rocky. He's the puppy, and he's a Belgian Malinois. So it's three different types of personalities. Um, you know, Dax is very jealous and like, but also like very like don't touch me kind of dog until these other two dogs showed up and it's like, okay, give me love too. But he used to be like, don't touch me. And Tequila is always on my lap, always wants to cuddle, always wants to be on somebody. And Rocky thinks he is Tequila size, tries to be on your lap, tries to sleep by your head and since he's a puppy, like if you pay attention to one dog, he wants the attention. So
Yeah.
it's definitely hard to maneuver all three sometimes, but they have fun and they enjoy each other. They'll fight for the same toy, even if there's two of the same thing. So, I'm not going to say it's the same thing as having kids, but it's sometimes a little close
I
with
mean, I
the,
feel like
the
three dogs.
craziness.
I feel like three dogs is enough. I mean, that's quite a bit of work already in itself. And I'm assuming, Sebastian's helping you with everything, with the dogs and whatnot, walking them, right? I mean, you got to keep him on the leash too.
Yeah, well, we're also very lucky. We have a very big backyard, so
Oh,
we take
sweet.
advantage, toss the ball out there for them and so they can run around because sometimes because right now we are both so busy with like work and stuff, we don't have time to walk them around all the time. So definitely the backyard comes in handy.
Yeah, it is really
And
nice.
mhm, yeah.
And so I know, like you said, you've been working a lot. Kind of tell us about, a little stuff what you've been working on your projects and whatnot. I know we talked about it not too long ago when you came over and we caught up and whatnot, but it's kind of cool to kind of share it out to the public.
Yeah, so Monday through Friday, 8 to 3:30 p.m. I am a Montessori preschool teacher. I'm with the kids. I teach them, I do all these things in the classroom for the kids. I observe them, make sure like what they're ready for and I guide them. And then on in the afternoons, I kind of work at my own on my own hours from the dance studio. I go to the dance studio on Mondays and Tuesdays and on Saturdays. Physically, I am there. Mondays, I help with the youth. So we have the salseritas, which are age 6 to 12. And I teach them dance, Latin rhythms, and like all these different things. We work on a choreography for them to be able to perform. And then after from like 6 till 9 o'clock, I take dance classes myself. It's Mujeres Monday at the studio. Everything for the ladies, all the classes. We have bachata, we have salsa styling, and then we have a salsa style project, which is the ladies that will go and perform or go and compete if they want to. So Mondays are really really good for the ladies. And then Tuesdays, I also go to the dance studio and I take classes with a partner, and I just joined on Tuesdays. I didn't used to go on Tuesdays, now I do. And I just joined the styling project for them, the salsa project for them, which is the team that will go perform. And so maybe you'll see me out there performing. Who knows? I'm barely easing into it. But I also, during those times, I'll answer phone calls for the studio. The studio is not just a dance studio, it's also a venue. So people book it for their baby showers, their birthday parties. So I help a little bit with that. And then every third Saturday of the month, we host a pop-up market where we have small businesses come join a pop-up market. We have our students perform. We're inviting other uh, different programs to come and perform at the markets now, to bring a little bit of more people to coming in and showcase. My main goal is to showcase all these small businesses,
Mm.
you know, give them that platform. I love sharing small businesses. I love shopping from small businesses, at the markets. They take my money all the time. I'm like, here you go, take my money. Give me what you got. So that's a little bit of what I do there. And then I always set up my crafts area. So I'm slowly trying to get big on it again. I when I first moved back from Washington, I didn't go straight into a school. I was trying to open up my own school, seeing what I could do there. And so then I would do one-on-ones. I would go to people's houses and bring my materials and teach the kids. I also offered my businesses to take activities to birthday parties where I set up the arts and crafts area for the kids to have arts and crafts. I've dressed up. I've dressed up as Minnie Mouse. I've dressed up as Ariel. So I'm trying to start that up again because I work for a venue and it's something that I can offer there to our clients. It's
Mhm.
already included, it's already there. We can add it to your package. So I'm starting to slowly start back up. So, I'm all over the place. And
Yeah.
then Saturdays, I'm back at the studio with the minis, which is the 3 to 5 year olds, and then the salseritas again, 6 to 12 year olds. And again, we teach them all the types of styling of the dancing, a little bit of ballet. We teach them a choreography for them to perform. So I'm all over the place.
Well, it's good to know that you do three. You said 3 to 5. You said on minis for
Yes.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good
minis
to.
on Saturdays. Yeah.
Oh, on Saturdays. Okay, that's good to know because maybe I'll swing Tiago over there. Get him some dance
Yeah.
lessons there. I mean, he's about to hit 4, so he's able to comprehend. And he actually we've taken him off to like weddings and quinceañeras. He actually loves the dance floor. He'll get on the dance floor. He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. And it's really, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool to see that and that energy. Man, you're doing a lot, Roxy. You really are doing a lot. Well, let's kind of go backtrack a little bit of how you became so driven, as a person. How was what was the little Roxy like? What was the little Roxanna like, as a young age and going into adulthood?
Well, I think I've always been very active and outgoing. I was raised by a very strong single parent. My mom is amazing, such a hard worker. She worked like 2 or 3 jobs at a time, while I was growing up. We lived in TJ, would cross from TJ to over here to go to school until up until like maybe fifth grade or so. That I can't think that much anymore. You get older, you lose
You
your
lose it.
memory goes away.
I always
um,
say dementia. It's always dementia.
yeah,
Early
there it
stages
is.
of dementia.
Yeah. So definitely, seeing my mom, how hard she worked, I've always aspired to be like my mom, a hard worker, a go-getter, you know. Um, so, but at a young age, I always knew that I wanted to work with kids, right?
Mm.
So I was already set in my goal. Like I needed to do something with kids.
At what age
And
would you say that you were like that?
I think probably when my first niece was born, which was when I was a sophomore. Yeah, sophomore. I was
Okay.
about to be 15, 15. Wait, is it a freshman when you're 15? I don't know, because I'm a
I can't
January
remember.
baby. I'm a January baby. So I was one of the older kids in my class. So I
Gotcha.
think I was a sophomore, give or take, freshman, sophomore. I don't know. Either
Blurry
there.
days.
My niece was born. You know, I fell in love with her. Um, and I don't know, babysitting her, helping my sister with her whenever I could, with whatever I could, kind of, you know, learning the gist of it. Seeing my mom, how she is as a grandma, seeing my sister, how she was with as a mom. So all these different things, you know, I was like, okay, I have a lot of patience for the crying and all these things. It doesn't like annoy me, it doesn't bother me. And then as I got through the high school program, we I did a class where we got to go to the elementary school next door and, you know, help out. We actually, now that I backtrack, in sixth grade, we also did that where you would go visit the kindergarten class and you
Mm.
would do like an arts and crafts activity
Oh,
with the
okay.
kids. And I thought that was pretty fun, you know, as a sixth grader, looking at these young little ones and like seeing like, oh, I'm thinking like I'm an old, mature sixth grader, you know, with these little kindergarteners. And so, yeah, I've always felt like I'd enjoyed it. I didn't do much dance in high school. I did basketball, track and field, and tennis. So I've always been very athletic. I know you hear me say basketball, and nowadays you see me playing soccer. I think in a way that's something I kind of regret choosing basketball over soccer because I feel like I would have been much better in high school at soccer than at basketball. Basketball, I sucked. I don't know. My mom should have been like, girl, choose a different sport.
That's interesting because your brother, I've had your brother on the show before, and he's very, big into soccer. So it's interesting that you kind of chose the basketball. Why were you in basketball? Just your mom chose you to choose the
My
basketball?
my mom played basketball when she was young,
Okay.
and and as we grew up, we would go see her play basketball. She was very, very good. I mean, I remember back when we lived in TJ, my brother would be up in the basketball courts with his friends playing basketball, and we would go up there, and she would like smoke them in the basketball court, like be like, yeah, that's my mama. So I thought like, oh, I want to do my mom's sport, you know.
Uh,
I thought, yeah, I could be like my mom, but no, definitely not. I could not be like my mom. I mean, I'm not gonna say I suck, like I wasn't that bad. I mean, obviously I'm fast. I have speed. I definitely own that. I am a speedy person. Um, but I wasn't the best at the sport. I think I probably would have excelled more in soccer, and maybe now I could have been like super good at soccer, you know? But
I didn't
yeah,
know about the tennis part. I didn't know you played also tennis.
yeah,
That's also a tough sport too. I mean, Patty was into tennis, and then she was trying to get me into tennis as like we were, obviously we were dating at the time. But man, that was so difficult for me to like go short, cut. Like I didn't know how intense tennis can be. So that's interesting that you
yeah,
also did tennis.
yeah. I enjoy it. Does she still play?
She doesn't. I mean, she's pregnant, obviously, but we haven't played.
Oh
Even
yeah,
when,
but
but we haven't dabbled into the tennis ever since we had Thiago. To be honest, I mean,
yeah,
this was all more mainly when we were like boyfriend girlfriend. Finding
yeah.
activities together. So now the activities is what color wall is this gonna be?
No, but we're gonna ditch you, and I'm gonna take her to play tennis.
All
We're gonna
right,
be
there
like,
you
peace
go.
out, Alex.
I mean, or we could do it partners. I don't know if
No.
Sebastian. Okay. Sorry, Sebastian. I was trying to get you in there too, brother. But so, anyways, you knew you kind of wanted to be a teacher, but obviously, there's different ways, right, of teaching kids and or different age groups and stuff like that. And to be honest, I never knew what was a Montessori school until I met you. I didn't even know what where that category really sat with. How did you,
Mhm.
kind of like want to pursue the Montessori education route? Can you also explain to the viewers and listeners if that who are not familiar with the Montessori kind of, program?
Yeah, so I was in college up in Oceanside. I went to Maricosta College, and I was studying dance. I was thinking, okay, what's something kind of simple that I can teach to kids right now that I can start off before I decide to go into like education or like going into an elementary school or something like that. And so I did dance. I
Mm,
incorporated the dance with the child development. And as I was doing that, my mom was working with somebody whose daughter was doing a Montessori schooling program. And she was telling me about it. My mom was telling me about it. I researched it and I kind of fell in love with what I read. So I was like, okay, let me get into this program. I joined, someone stopped with the college. I still got my AA in dance with child development under it. And then I just focused on my certification program for the Montessori because it's a certification program. It's not like you go to college and they teach it to you there or stuff like that.
mm,
It's a specific certification program that you have to, you know, it's out of your own pocket. We don't get no financial aid. Like this comes out of your pocket. And so Montessori is, a lot of people here, sorry, my hair is all over my face. Um, here, that Montessori, you let the child be free. There's a lot of freedom. But people think like, oh, they get to do whatever they want. No. You give them the resources for them to have this environment of materials for them to learn from, right? And they have the freedom to pick and choose material. Obviously, during circle time, you teach them the material slowly. You sit with a child and you teach them the material so that they by themselves feel confident enough to be like, oh, I know how to use that material. I can go get it. Right. But you also sit and observe a lot. I observe my children. Okay. I can see who's ready for this type of material, who's ready for this. So I don't have them all like, oh, you all have to be learning the same thing, learning at the same pace. You all have to be at the same level. No, because that's not how it works. Children don't work like that. Children are going to be like a roller coaster. You know, some at a young age can already read, right? I've had 3-year-olds who could read already. And then I've had 3-year-olds that don't, even 4-year-olds that don't. This 3-year-old could be higher than this, but this kid excels in math or
mm.
excels in, the planets or geography. Like you have to see what they excel in and then try to incorporate that with the other types of teachings that you're going to be doing so that you can get them at where they would need to be. Obviously you have these milestones that kids have to reach at a certain point, but the goal is for us to observe, make them independent. Everything is supposed to be realistic. We have practical life materials.
Whoa.
Practical life materials is super basic. Like you
Yeah.
can literally set up a tray, 2 cups, put the water, and then they just pour. They just
Mm,
pour. But there's a motive for it. They're holding the cup. They're trying to get it into the cup. Spooning. You put 2 little plates, and the how they hold the spoon. Everything is going to eventually transition to language, to math, to holding a pencil, and so everything has a purpose in the classroom, right? So that's just a little bit of what, Montessori is. Um, it's just a rather way of us observing the child, teaching the child at his own pace, making the child independent, showing them um, how to, what do you, um, how do you say it?
Get some
Also like
independence.
Yeah. Mixed age groups some also really good
Oh, okay.
because the older kids will try to teach the younger kids.
Uh,
If the younger kid sees the older kid doing so well with the letters and doing so well with the numbers, and they'll be like, Miss Roxy, I want to be doing that. Okay, you want to be doing that? Great. We got to start with this material first. Let's start
mm,
here. We practice it, and then we slowly work our way, and you'll be at the same level over there. You'll
mhm,
be there. And so motivation for them to love learning, to make learning a little bit more fun. We have all these hands-on materials, you know, that they touch, feel, and see at all times, and that makes it more interesting for them.
mm. And let's go a little bit deeper on the level. Obviously, there being a teacher comes with challenges. Obviously, kids, they're wild, especially in that age group, right? They're super wild. What challenges have you gone, that were just like, whoa, this is like, I didn't expect this part, anything like that. And how have you been able to like, adapt to those situations?
Yeah, so a lot of the times you get some type of behavioral issues, whether the kid can't communicate quite well yet, so frustration kicks in, and hitting or doing things because they can't communicate, right? A lot of kids will throw a tantrum, but you have to be patient enough to try to get to the source. Why is this tantrum happening? Why is he behaving? What caused it, right? Um, but sometimes nowadays, and I don't want to be rude to parents, right? But sometimes your child cries, right? And what do we do to stop the child from crying? Just give them what they want. Give them what they want, right? Then they come to school, and we're not going to give them what they want. We're prone to their crying. We can handle the crying. Eventually the crying will stop, because we're not always going to be like, yes, 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 just stop crying.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, okay, there's certain things that we got to do first before we can do what you want, or before I can give you what you want, or you were hitting your friend, I'm sorry, but then you can't. We try to work on how to communicate it for you not to hit your friend and to get what you want. So it's just those types of challenges. Also, like, a lot of the kids that I have right now are the kids in the age groups that were COVID babies, you know? They didn't socialize that much. They're barely coming out of that shell. They're barely learning how to share. They're barely learning, how to do all these different things. And moms and dads were very like protective of their children, right? So you just have to try to maneuver and work with the best you can with everything so that it works for the child, but you're also trying to be supportive of the parents, right? But you want
Yeah.
the parents to be at the same page as you. So, you know, you just maneuver those things. But sometimes there's challenging behaviors, right? Where they sometimes you just don't get through to the child. So then, I just recently went to a Montessori conference in Orlando, and you sit at these conferences and you listen to all these way more experienced people talking, and you try to get little ideas here and there. Okay, you can work at this, you can, because sometimes you get so caught up in what's happening with the child that you're just like, oh my gosh, like nothing that I'm doing is working.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying to talk to them. I'm trying to this. I don't want to be yelling in the classroom, because sometimes it happens where like I have to raise my voice because they're all just screaming all the time. And me being like, friends, please calm down. It's not working, and it's not working. And then you forget of other resources that you may have, right? So learning from other teachers all the time is something that I do, because I remember I love to sing, right? I love to sing to the kids. I went to the conference. I took a music workshop, and the music the teacher that was doing the class, said that sometimes you feel like you just want to scream, right? But if you sing a song with the child's name,
Mm.
they'll be like, oh. So I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Children love when you sing songs and their name is in it. So like I'm bringing that back and incorporating because I had forgotten about that. I used to use that all the time. And I forgot about that because my brain was so like, oh my gosh, these kids, they're yelling, they're this, they're that. What am I doing? And so now I sing to them. I sing to them a little bit more. And they love it. They love it, you know? So you just have to figure it out slowly but literally and slowly a little bit, little by little by little, and remind yourself why you're doing this, right? And I feel like a lot of teachers do get
Mm.
worn out, you know, they somehow that light starts to dim and they don't have that support system, which is one of the reasons why I don't want to go into public school,
Mm.
right? Because I feel like all of these things that you and it's I I love, you know, seeing teachers that do work for public schools and that still are doing their jobs and they're still working hard and they're still shaping these minds, but it wouldn't be something for me anymore because I think my light would dim
Mm.
slowly and slowly and I don't want that. So I stay in this age group, which is the 2 to 5 year olds, in a private school where I'm kind of free to create my own curriculum. I am free to observe the children where I don't have to have the children at the same level, where I have to be like challenged to be like, oh, this child is ready for this. How can what material can I build for this child for it for him or her not to be bored? Because when a child is bored, that's when behavioral issues will start to come. It's
Mm.
not that the
Okay.
child just wants to misbehave. It's it's that sometimes they might just be bored and you just need to come up with different things to get them going,
Yeah.
you know, to ignite that fire in the child's education.
So that's interesting that you say that, you don't want the light to dim, right? And sometimes, when I was working in the industry, there's times that I love it, there's times that I hate it, right? And I think that's with everybody within their own job or own passion. There's sometimes that you don't want to wake up or you're not, motivated to go. I'm assuming you've had those days. How do you push yourself, every single day to have that same consistency level of teaching, even on the days that you don't, you're having feeling like an off day?
Yeah. I just remind myself of why I'm doing it. Why am I doing this? Why with kids? Because I'm shaping their little minds.
Mm.
You know, at this age group, it's where their brain is like a sponge and they absorb so much. And even if like me singing to them in Spanish, maybe outside of school or once they leave me, they might not practice that language anymore. But in the future, when they want to learn that Spanish, that part of the brain is going to wake up again and it's going to be easier for them to learn the language because it's there. Because I implemented it back when they were here with me for these 2 or 3 years of their preschool age, and it's there and it'll just wake up. So, like, the why of why I do what I do all the time. Like seeing even if there's so many times where like the child is doing something,
Mm.
you know, and then the answer that they give you want to be upset, like mad at them, and I have to turn away because I giggle. I'm trying to think of
An example.
an example, um, which I feel like I had something happen. I can't think of it right now, but let's say the child um is uh, is you know doing something and you're just like, do you do you like to do that? And they're just like, yes, I do, but with that smile, like, and you,
And I know exactly what
or
that
like,
is.
or like
Yeah.
the way they say it, and with that smile, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, and then you have to turn away, and like, there's so many, and I can't believe I'm gonna start writing these down, so like, I have them there like at all times, and I could probably like talk about all these different things that the kids do that you try to be so upset. Or there's one time where we're sitting crisscross applesauce, right, and this child is just refusing to sit down, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call mommy then. And then he's like, no, I'm gonna call your mommy. And I'm just like, and I'm just like, okay, sir. I'm like, or like, please sit down. And I'll be like, no, you sit down. And I'm just like, what is this? So many different little things. And so I just remind myself that they're still kids. They're still learning, which I teach this age group because they have a reason to act the way they act, right? You're a
Yeah.
grown adult. You should know better by now, which is why I can't deal with adults that much, right? But you're at this age, you're a child, you're still learning, you know, you you have a reason to do what you're doing. Maybe you don't know how to express it, right? But as an adult, you should know better. Unless you struggle with certain things, and if I know about it, I know how to maneuver those things, right? I can be more patient with this adult if it's something like that, right? But for the most part, you deal with adults and they should know better, right? So I'm just like, or high schoolers, or um first of all, I look like a high schooler. They would eat me alive. Um,
Which is good, right? You don't look your age. You're
yeah,
thriving. You're aging like wine.
yeah. Thank you. But yeah, I just think of those little faces, like that's the why of why I'm doing this. Those little faces shaping their little minds. I could have the shittiest day. Sorry, can I cuss?
Yeah, 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 that's fine.
or the crappiest day ever, and then as soon as I walk through those doors and the smile on those little kids faces just switch my mood. It's like
Mm.
my, what is it called, like your melatonin
Serotonin now? I think it's called
or your
serotonin. Mhm.
serotonin, yeah, your
Or your
serotonin
dopamine.
just, or yeah,
Yeah.
it does, it it gives that to me, right? And so that's my why, and why I always push through.
Interesting. And going back a little bit too, something you discussed a little bit that you didn't really you did say resource, but I didn't don't think you emphasize it as much because you went to, a conference. I'm assuming it's not the first conference you've been to, from what it sounds like. It sounds like you're very resourceful as a teacher. You know, is that something that maybe teachers out there that are listening, that should be more resourceful? Because you did say the light comes dim when it comes to public school teaching, right? You think is that a problem also in the education system where the teachers not saying that, putting down on them that obviously the work is hard, you know, but is there enough resources out there to kind of like help guide out teachers enough in the public school demand, or do you feel like that's the, kind of a Montessori way of getting more resources and how learning how to teach?
No, I mean, I feel like I would think. I mean, my mother-in-law worked for elementary schools. She was a principal, and I would see her go to different like workshops and like or conferences or travel a lot to learn. So I think they have the resources there, right? Um, it's just fine. Sometimes you have to find them. Like if it wasn't um for me doing the research and getting online and or receiving these emails all the time, sometimes people just don't look for them, right? Or
Mhm.
sometimes you're just there, like you take what they give you or what they offer you, but sometimes a lot of the things do come out of our pocket, right? We have to pay for these conferences.
Mm.
We have to, and conferences are not cheap. I mean, right? Because it's all these different workshops, right? So you pay for that, and then you pay for travel, and then you pay for travel, and then you pay for all these things. So um also that's another thing. Like, do we get paid enough to be able to save enough to be able
Mm,
to do these things, right? Um I don't know much about the public school system aside from, like, my nieces going to school, and like my sister actually homeschools my two youngest ones
mm,
now, because after COVID, everything changed, so she just pulled them out, try to and homeschools them, which is great. I found with all these, during COVID, I found a lot of more resources from, moms doing the homeschooling, and they find you resources on how to homeschool. And so I guided my sister to all of those things that I found through social media. So it's just a matter of looking and being able to save enough money to afford it sometimes. But I'm a, I'm thinking that there is probably resource, but I am in a community or in a program with AMS, which is the American Montessori Society,
mm,
who creates all of these opportunities for you as a member. I had to stay a member onto that. I pay a membership to keep getting all these different opportunities. And even if
mm,
you're not a member, but you are interested, you can always pay to go to these conferences. Sometimes you have different keynote speakers that you may be interested in, and you're not a you're not a Montessori teacher, but you're a parent and you would like to go and check them out, right? Or you're in a public school system, but you're learning about that, and there's different, and you've looked at what kind of workshops and classes you're going to have, and you're interested, and you can sign up for this conference, right? So the Montessori conference is open to anybody, non-members and members, to be able to go and observe all of these new ideas and implementing. Obviously, a lot of them guide you through, how everything works in the Montessori method and stuff like that. So it all comes together in the long run.
mm. Gotcha. Well, that's good to know that, those conferences is kind of open to basically anyone who wants to go. I mean, I obviously like, I listen to conferences too myself of different kinds of stuff and situations. But I think being resourceful is very important. I believe it's being very, especially like if like for example us like starting a small business, we have to be resourceful, right? We don't have the capital to be putting a commercial on TV or the capital to be putting it on billboards. Like we have to start small, social media, and then I liked what you said, kind of like the social media part, because one thing that we discussed not too long ago, not in this interview, but recently, was groups, Facebook groups, right? I'm assuming there's Facebook groups for Montessori teachers too as well. And I think when I started getting to kind of like we said, you got to do your homework, study what groups you want to be in, where to find all this stuff. But I think Facebook groups is really cool in how they, you find that group and then whatever topic it is, that's the set of group of people that's just trying to help each other, right? Like I'm in kitchen classifieds. I'm in the what was that one group that you told me to go on?
Everything for your party,
Everything for your party
for your
group,
party.
which is crazy amount of people who are supporting each other's, party rental businesses, and it's a community, right? So I'm assuming that
Hmm.
community is very strong within you guys. Is there a lot of networking in Montessori teaching? Is there like, you network with the Montessori teachers from South Bay, North County, stuff like that?
Well, it just depends, like how willing are you to try to get that network to communicate. I still communicate with my Montessori teachers from Washington, right? And I
Mm.
actually met up with one of them at the conference.
Oh, sweet.
I met up with them, and we were trying to make it a goal to meet each other this at every single conference. Next year it's going to be in Denver, the conference, right? So I met so many amazing teachers also there, some that are elementary, Montessori elementary school teachers, we don't have that many elementary schools here around that are Montessori elementary schools. I think
Yeah.
we have two, if that, and I've heard of the second one, but I can't remember the name. But I used to work for one before I moved to Washington.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called Montessori Explorer. It's on East J Street, and they go from a very young age. I think a little bit before two, if not at two, all the way up to sixth grade.
Oh, wow.
Right, and it's run by um, this amazing director, Miss Danusha, and I love her. She is amazing, and I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot from her. So if you don't research these things, you wouldn't know, right? It took for me to find that elementary school. I was working at another school where the guy who helps with the cleaning and all that stuff, we got to talking, and he does the cleaning for the other school for Montessori Explorer. And with him, that's how I got to know about that school. That's how I found out that
Mm.
that one goes up to sixth grade, right? So these little connections that brings you to different communities, right? My the director that was there when I did my certification program now has her own school, in La Mesa. And, I still get to talk to her and learn from her little by little here and there. These teachers sometimes move from places, or some teachers open up their own schools. That's what I wanted to do. But then I realized I'm not ready to leave the classroom. I'm not
Mm.
ready to and maybe if I open my own school, I wouldn't have to give up my own classroom, but it'll be a lot of work, right? You would have to teach and then do admin work and then deal
Yeah.
with the parents and like all these things. And I'm not ready to deal with all of that yet. I want my focus to be the kids right now. So that's when I put a hold to my idea of opening my own school and go back to a school and continue my job there with the kids.
So it sounds like, you said you weren't ready, it sounds like you needed to learn a little, and you still need to feel like you need to learn a little bit more of your job and to try to get to that role, right? To be, I don't want to say as comfortable as you can, because obviously when you get into a leap of faith, you're taking a big risk, and usually it's not like, it shouldn't be a comfortable spot. But my next question is going to be, what have you, really learned the most about yourself as a teacher, as a Montessori teacher?
Well, I've definitely learned that I very much have a lot of patience for kids. Like the tolerance that I have for their craziness is probably something that people have told me, like, how do you do it? How? Like, how do you have, which is crazy because for some of my nieces and nephews, I don't have the same patience that I do with for my kids, but probably because they're family.
Yeah.
It's definitely different when they're your family, when aside from when they're your students. But I definitely learned that I do have a lot of patience. Um, I've I've learned that I'm super passionate about what I do, and um, each day is like a new adventure. Like no day is always going to be the same because you never know how these kids are gonna come into school. Did they have a good morning? Did they have a good night's sleep? Is the full moon gonna affect their mood? Because that's the thing. Okay, full moons affect moods on kids.
No. I never heard that one. All
You've
right.
never heard it?
I've never
Next
heard
time,
that.
next time there's a full moon, look at your children and see the way they're acting. Um,
I mean, Thiago
yeah.
gets excited when there's a full moon. He's like, Luna, 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 Luna. He
Hmm.
gets super excited. But I didn't know that that would like affect their mood changes.
Oh yeah, they are
Interesting.
extra crazy on those days. Like I've had a parent who is a teacher who sometimes she knows that it's a full moon or whatever, and they just happen to miss school that day, and she goes and tells me it's a full moon, so you're welcome. Like I'm not sending you my child. You're welcome.
Yeah.
um because yeah, I mean, some people believe in it, some people don't. I definitely believe in that. Uh, but but yeah, just the amount of patience I have, the amount of the way that I can maneuver each situation. Like, obviously, I go into my day thinking, okay, maybe I could do this art project with the kids, right? But then they arrive and you're like, I definitely cannot do that. So I've gotten very good at like thinking on my quick thinking, right? Okay, I can't do this, but we can do this. I
Mm,
can't do that, but we can do this. So I think if you would have asked me, obviously 10 years ago when I first started, because I've been with teaching Montessori for 10 years now, I graduated in 2014. Um, but I did my internship and my schooling all at the same time. So, um, if you would have asked me back then as an intern, am I able to do that? I would have been like, no. Like, what do I do when they're acting this crazy? No, I
yeah.
can't. What am I supposed to? I had this plan and I want to do this. But now I'm like, no, it's okay. You don't have to do this. You just maneuver something else and you think of something else. This is kids. This
Yeah.
is so I've gotten very good at quick thinking and being patient and switching things up if I have to switch things up. There are sometimes where I won't do a circle time because they're at the begin in the morning. I'll just put them straight to work time because of the way that they come into the classroom.
Mm.
So, you know, I came in with a plan of teaching a certain material at circle time and singing certain songs at circle time. But the kids are not ready for that.
Yeah. I feel like your dog's also not ready.
He's not ready.
So I kind of want to go backtrack a little bit on actually the dancing part, right? Because I feel like the Roxanna has like I wouldn't say it's like three different not I want to say three different personalities, but there's three different like I feel like projects that you're working on, right? There's
Mhm.
the school part of you, right? There's also the dance part of you, the passion of dancing. I know you said you didn't really get into dancing until after high school. How did that come into fruition? How did that passion for dancing really kind of push yourself even to this age of like trying to learn more, even teaching kids and whatnot? So yeah, tell us about that story.
Yeah, so can you hear them really that loudly? Or
We can I can hear them. It's okay. I hear you more for sure.
okay, just like
Yeah,
crazy
you got to
girl.
practice those Montessori stuff with the dogs too.
Oh gosh, I wish that worked. So with dancing, like I told you before, my goal was to, get my AA in dance with child development to teach dance, right? And then that changed, right? So, um, my background in dancing is basically what, I'm a Latina, it's in the
In the blood.
movements or is in my body, but working at the studio, I've learned so much more. I've learned that I'm capable of much more and teaching these kids much more. And I have a great, you know, boss slash partner because she's my partner in the markets, um, and she is amazing. And I've learned so much, you know. Um, I I started working with the dance studio because there was another business that wanted my services to help out with this project that they had in mind. And unfortunately, it didn't work out there at the studio, but they did end up moving somewhere else in Chula Vista, and it's going great for them. Um, but Serena, the studio director, I guess fell in love with me and wanted to bring me on for the minis. So
Mm,
before I used to just show up to class, set up my arts and crafts for the halftime of the minis class is 1 hour, right?
okay.
So they'll do dancing, like 10 to 15 minutes of craft time, and then they finish dancing,
Mm,
right? And so I was placed there to, help her obviously with this age group because, like I said, they're unpredictable. Kids are unpredictable, their moods, well, they're running around, and she wanted some extra support, somebody who's worked with kids to help her, get them settled, and then to do an art activity, right? As we started growing and getting to know each other, I learned the choreographies that she would teach. I learned the little techniques. And obviously, with the little ones, it's much easier than to teach
Mm.
an adult, I feel like, because you put a song, you do some movements, and they copy you, right? Um, and it's not like they're saying right now, oh, that's not the real salsa, or that's not real, to me, because right, versus an adult is gonna tell me like, what is that? I've never seen that. What are these moves? Right? You're just doing Zumba stuff, right?
The
I can
workout
do
class.
Zumba. I can do Zumba with my little ones because they just need to move around and jump.
Yeah.
And obviously, we teach them little techniques and stuff like that, but we also want to make the class fun as well, right? So they can keep enjoying it. And like I said, with kids, you never know. You have to maneuver things differently. And so that's why she brought me on. We continued this. Now I've learned so much from her. I know how to do proper techniques. I know how to be able to do all these different things because I've learned from her. And so I stepped into this role of being able to help with not just the minis, but the salseritas, which is the older group from the 6 to 12-year-olds, right?
Hmm.
And with them, it's definitely more technique and more, precision and more teaching them obviously the proper way, right? And now because I've learned so much more now, just not with just my background of like what I thought I knew, but now what I know more,
Hmm.
I can teach them properly, right? And I'm there to not only just be there to support and make sure the kids are not running wild, but I'm there as a teacher, right? So like an actual dance teacher. So that's how I got into it. Now the sales studios feels like a whole family. You have
Mm.
this community. You have this community of dancers, like, and you always in awe of like all these different people that go to the dance classes. Like it does not matter how old you are,
Okay.
everybody can dance if they're up for the challenge, right? Anybody can step into the class and dance, right? Whether you're 3 years old or whether you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you're still up for it and you're wanting that want of trying to do something fun and enjoy it and have this community behind you supporting you. That's what I love about the studio as well.
What's the studio's name again?
The sales studios.
The Sales Studios. And you said salsa, bachata. What other dances do they teach
cha
you?
cha-cha,
Hmm.
you know, um, a little bit of ballet, but now we're actually getting an actual ballet teacher to come
Oh,
and teach the kids. So, um, which is great because ballet was actually like my least favorite class in college. Like I was so happy that I only needed ballet one to be able to graduate. Because
it's a lot of technique. It's a
if I had
lot.
to go to ballet two, I would have been dead.
Hey,
I like to be free. I'm
my
like, I like to be
respects
free. I don't
my
know.
respects to the ballerinas. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
Hmm.
when I mean, obviously, I went to an art school, and there was dance classes there. And Patty doesn't like me to talk about, my past and that. But obviously, I dated someone that was a ballerina, and man, what they put their feet through, oh man, I can't even imagine, right? Like, man, I mean, my feet are bad because of soccer, but being on your
Hmm.
tippy toes on those like type of shoes, I can't even imagine the
Yeah,
amount of
it's
pain.
crazy.
Uh, so you're doing the studio. You said you're taking some classes, right? You're taking the same classes there.
Yeah, so I actually take bachata choreo,
Okay.
which bachata choreo is basically a class the teacher comes in, teaches you a choreography every Monday. It's a different and new choreography. It's usually about a 30 to a minute length of choreography which is pretty simple, fun. And she's always like, you're learning this choreography, letting loose, enjoying yourself. That's the main goal, to have something for yourself. And so I love that class. I love it. I love it.
Now, I wouldn't say you regret not getting in, not getting into soccer earlier, right? I mean, I feel at least I don't regret anything in my life. Obviously, I've had my ups and downs. Maybe I should have done that a different way, but I think also we do it certain ways to learn from our failures, right? Or from our mistakes. Uh, do you feel also was that like something that you should have felt like you should have got into it earlier in the dancing scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, obviously I regret it in a way that because I could have been more successful at soccer than at basketball, but obviously a lot of great relationships and friendships came out of me being in basketball, right? And I
Mhm.
still have those friendships nowadays.
Yeah.
There's one of my closest friends, you know, that I get to still be, and if I would have joined soccer, maybe those relationships wouldn't have flourished,
Yeah.
right? And with the dancing, I mean, we didn't really have a dancing thing in high school. It
Mhm.
all came in college, right? Um, and I think when I worked up in Escondido for a little bit, I tried to take up ballroom dancing again, but obviously it's it's an expensive thing.
Yeah.
These dance studios are expensive, and when it comes to, soccer and dance, soccer is cheaper, so you choose, so, but you still get to do these things that you want to do. Like you want to, maybe I'd take a class here and there when I want to. So I don't, sometimes I'm just like, okay, maybe I should have, like, I could have been really good at dancing, could have moved up to LA and pursued that. But then I'm just like, I don't know if I wanted to be that kind of person,
Yeah.
like that kind of that. I don't think my personality would suit for that stuff. I'm better off with the kids. So like to me, it always comes down to the kids.
Mm.
Like I know that I belong in what I'm doing. Like I know that I belong teaching kids. I know that I belong all these things. But I also know that what makes me happy is dancing. So I now have this opportunity. Obviously, I work for the studio, so it's a little bit cheaper for me to be able to pursue that a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I don't really regret not continuing on the dancing part because I know that I love what I do now more.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, and that's amazing that you enjoy your profession. It's like you're not even going to work, right? You're going to your passion every single day.
Hmm.
And when you get out of, work, you're actually going to your other passion and having fun
Hmm.
too. Uh,
Yeah.
I know you have a little bit of, that entrepreneurial spirit, right? And we had discussed prior to this podcast, your projects of venues and events that you host at the studio. Can you kind of guide us that story? How did that kind of came into fruition with your partner? Obviously, I believe if correct me if I'm wrong, she's the owner of the studio. How that topic even came about, and from that topic and to actually starting it. Because I think also that's also very important the in between. Because there's viewers out there that's like has that dream, right? But they never put that stepping stone, or they say they're gonna do one thing and they achieve that, but they don't keep going and they don't really continue their thing.
Yeah, so I back it's been 2 years now since my first pop-up market that I ever did, I think. Right. I hosted it, and obviously you have to book a venue or big book something. You have to pay for that, right? And then vendors pay a fee, and you kind of get money back for to pay the venue, right? But the main goal is to get these small businesses out there and promote them, right? So um I since I was working for the dance studio, they were giving me a good deal to rent the space to host a pop-up market, you know, there indoors, whether it rains or it's sunny, it's indoors, everybody's safe, right? So I was able to, you know, book the venue out of my pocket, and make this market happen. And Serena, I believe she used to do a mimosas market before that. I never
Mm.
really went to that, but I've heard of them. So, um, she is very like, I have the space, but I'm not very much good about, getting all these vendors and doing all these. That's too much.
Mm.
That was too much work for her, right? But that's part of what I enjoy to do. Looking for small businesses, getting all these small businesses together, trying to get them to come, learning about their business, promoting them. And so that's where we kind of had this talk where, like, okay, we have this space, we have, now I don't really have to pay for a space, right? Because we have it, we just go 50-50 on whatever, and a lot of the times that money that I make goes back into like trying to get better ideas on how to promote the event. Trying to, like, because it takes marketing, you sometimes you have to pay for marketing,
Yeah.
like all these different things. So um it's not this like, oh, I'm making extra income. No, like, yes, it gives me a little bit of money, but also I'm gonna put it back to make these events get better and
Yeah.
bigger and better, and like, how can I make it better, right? So obviously when you're first starting, it's gonna be like that, give and take, right? um so we started talking about that, and sometimes the venue is there open, like nobody has booked it, there's no dance classes, right? So like, we want to keep the doors of the venue, of the dance studio, also open so people can know that it's there. So that's also another thing that we were talking about. And so we just talked about it, and Serena was like, okay, if I put the venue out there for you and I put out the performances out there for you, and then you deal with the vendors and you deal with this and that, we can do this every third Saturday, or we could do this once a month. And
Mm.
so now it became like, okay, choosing when we would do it. Then we decided to just do it every third Saturday of the month. And those, so all these little things just took little by little. The Christmas one went really great, right? And then January, February, they were a little bit slower. um March, it picked up a little bit, so it's just all these things that you have to maneuver, but we do want to like try to keep it going so that we can get better at it and
And you
and
continue to
grow.
grow. It's
Hmm.
once a month, right?
Once a month, every
Uh,
third Saturday.
every third Saturday. Okay, good.
Hmm.
That's good to know. Anybody, any listeners out there who's interested in, marketing their own business, or trying to network with anybody, reach out to Roxy. She's very approachable. She's definitely willing to help you, and obviously the studio is willing to help you too. Uh, and a part of the business, that in itself has its own. It's a different mindset when you have like your own, like, type of business, right? Getting to get these contract, or getting these business to come to you, or maybe are they kind of like, should they trust you, kind of thing? Because obviously when I talk to somebody, about business, is that's kind of my first thing. How trustable is this person? How do you approach like these businesses, in a way where it's like it's comforting for them to come and, showcase their work?
Yeah, well, I definitely try to be very honest with them, right? A lot of them, sometimes it's their first time doing a pop-up market, right? They just started their small business and they're dipping their foot in all these things. But I always try to be very honest, right? Like, we don't know the outcome of these markets. Like, we don't know how many people are going to be stepping in, but we're doing our best to try to get there. And, we have the dance studio platform that reaches, more than 1,000 people with the newsletter that we sent out. So we sent them all these information about the vendors, again, I work for a venue. A lot of these vendors can be set up at events, right?
Mm.
A client comes and asks us, do you guys know anybody for this, and this? You know what? I actually do. We had a vendor at the market that does this, and we have another one that does this, and that. So, I try to let them know that, like, okay, maybe the market won't be as busy,
Mhm.
but more can come out of it, right?
Yeah.
More business can come out of it because we are a venue. Because, I know a lot of people who, I have a lot of friends and family who are always looking for things. And because I've been doing pop-up markets here and there for about 2 years now, I
Oh,
know where to guide them to, right? I know, oh, you need a cake? Well, here's this option, this option, this option, right? You know, it's just, and then it's gonna be like, who do you think it'll be the best fit for you, right? Because, sometimes there's too many options and you're just like, well, there's this and that, right? And so yeah, maybe you just want to reach out to me and be like, what do you recommend? It's like, well, here are my top three, right? Sometimes I have the specific person for cheesecakes. I have the specific person for cupcakes. I have the specific person for the cakes. I have this specific person for the cookies, right? Like, they do.
the specific person for tables and chairs.
Yes, exactly. So, you get to know all these small businesses, and I just like to encourage them, like, we're doing everything in our part to make the market great and to bring foot, foot traction into the venue to check out your market. But that's not all I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm, trying to promote you on my social media, trying to promote you on the dance studio social media. I hype you up to friends and family that I have. I always buy their products at the markets as well. Like I said, they take my money.
Mhm.
Um, and some people, I have a vendor who, joined us for our February market and continues to join us for our March, is joining us for our April,
Oh, sweet.
because she's seen how each time we get a little bit better, and like, sometimes um you have these people hosting these markets who like to stack it up with so many vendors,
Yeah.
and it's a small place, and that's not always good, because then you have so many of the same vendors, right? Like, this is why I
Mm.
have an application process, right? I have an application process where, like, I make sure that I only have maybe, if that, two of similar things, but they still have something different, right? And I'll encourage the other ones to apply for our next market, right? Because I don't want them to feel like, oh, this person brought, this person accepted somebody who does exactly the same thing I do. How am I going to get my business out there? Like, how, right? And so I don't want that frustration. So I want
Yeah.
to give everybody an opportunity to be able to showcase slowly what they have, whether it's at this market or the next market, right? Um, so me just supporting all these small businesses, like when you told me about your tables and chairs, like, I was so excited for you, like, I'm just like, yes. So I don't know if you've noticed, but every time, like, somebody asks, I tag you guys.
Oh, sweet. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I didn't even notice that.
uh,
I'm pretty sure
on the
Patty has
everything,
noticed. Yeah. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
on the
Patty.
everything,
Oh, sweet.
for your party, like, the admin for those pages, because they have one for just vendors and then one for people who are looking for vendors, right? Because sometimes vendors are closing their business and they have to sell their things or like stuff like that. So she created
Mm.
a page for just that as well. So she gives me, a great opportunity for me to post, when we're doing these markets and when we're needing vendors. So she's a really great admin, I believe, and she's really good about listening to people when, if they've been scammed or something like that. So, like, that's another thing. I followed this other business who's really successful, and she went to a market and basically talks about how they got scammed, right? You know the market was not successful, and they hyped it up to be all of this and that, and it wasn't nothing like that. And that's what I don't want, right? So
Yeah.
I'm fully transparent when I talk to my vendors, like, this is what could happen, but you also, the weather, like in January it rained, so there wasn't a lot of foot traction, like people walking around the mall,
Yeah.
right? And so, it was disappointing, obviously, for my vendors because they didn't get that much business happening, right? And if it was your first time, it's like, oh, you know, this was just like, oh. But a lot of vendors who've been doing them for a long time, they know this can happen, right?
Yeah.
So, so you just try to come up with different things to kind of be like, yes, we may not have a lot of people, but this is other things I can offer. When somebody asks me for something, I spit your name out there. You know, I put you out, your business out there. And I always tell them, whenever you post a story or whenever you tag me, and I will reshare it.
Sweet.
Don't feel
Not
scared to tag me. I will reshare all the time.
perfect. That's good to know for me.
So yeah, and
And
you don't even need to because I've already be
yeah,
like,
no, I
boom.
don't. Sweet. If you don't mind me asking, what does the admin do? Does she have her own business or does she just run that group?
I think she just runs that group. I don't think she really talks too much about herself. You know, I only see what pops into my feed, and that
Okay.
that that group has been there long before I even joined.
Yeah.
I think I barely joined like a couple months ago,
Yeah,
honestly.
I
Like,
barely, I
so
barely joined. The day you told me that you texted me, join that group. I believe that was the same day I joined that group, but like about an hour or two earlier. And it was kind of
yeah,
crazy that you told me that. I was like, you got to join this group, and I was like, dude, I literally just joined that group. This must be like a dope ass group. And I'm not gonna lie, it's really cool to see all these businesses flourish, which obviously it's competitive, right? But it gives me an opportunity even to showcase on this podcast other businesses, right? To showcase their dreams. And so I'm even looking on that avenue
hmm
to make the podcast better, right? To make it, different types of people, different, backgrounds and whatnot to share their stories, and share their dreams too as well. Damn, I'm not gonna lie, it's last talk of time, but it's been a good conversation with you with, I feel like with three different types of, projects that you have been working on. And
yeah,
one of my before we not I don't want to close off yet. One of my last few questions, me and my wife were partners in this business. Sometimes we butt heads a little bit. Obviously, I'm like, she's kind of more of like, let's hold on, let's hold on. I'm more of the risk taker. Like, let's take the risk right now. Like, go in or go out, or go big or go home kind of thing, right? But
hmm
not necessarily put all my eggs in one basket. But like, one thing I learned from my friend Kyle is, being a procrastinator is very lethal to business mentality, like putting things off
hmm
and whatnot. Uh, so hence wise, like I said, sometimes we struggle to meet me and my wife in the middle of where we should go to the next level.
hmm
How have you been able to work with your partner, right? In those situations where like maybe you guys aren't seeing eye to eye at this particular topic. How have you guys been able to work around it? Because obviously there's people out there who are like, man, I want to start a business, let me start with this business with my buddy Joe, but then down the road they hit those bumps where it's like,
hmm
we're not seeing eye to eye. How have you been able to overcome those situations with your partner?
Well, Sebastian is very supportive. I mean, I think we've both been very supportive of each other.
Oh,
You
sorry.
know,
I'm talking about business partner, not a relationship partner.
oh, my business partner. I was
Business
like,
partner. That
okay,
not
yeah,
business
yeah,
partner.
yeah, got it. I'm like, you mentioned Patty and yourself, so I was like, okay, yeah. Well, Sebastian's very supportive,
Well, no, that's why I said like a buddy who
and
starts a
I'm
business with
actually
his buddy
trying
Joe.
to get him to start up his bartending gigs, right? And I've
Yeah.
already got him like 2 gigs for that, so I'm
Hey,
just
there we
already,
go.
I'm like
Shout
on
out to
it more.
Sebastian.
Yeah. Um, but no, yeah, I mean, Serena is basically my only business partner, right? And she's like family. She's been running her dance studio for years. I mean, this year we celebrate 16 years of
Oh
that.
wow.
16 years of the sales studio. She's a veteran. She's a veteran, a professional dancer. She's won championships. She's this amazing woman, and just learning from her and seeing how supportive she is, right? And everything she's been through. And so communication all the time. I don't think we've dealt with a situation where we butt heads, right? Um, because of the fact like we just talk through it, right?
Mm,
We talk through it, we see different options, and because it's markets, we listen to our vendors. We encourage our vendors to tell us, okay, what could we do better? What would make you want to come back? What, like, so we listen to our vendors, we talk those ideas, we communicate it, we come up with a plan, and, we set it into motion, right? So, because she's been in the business for so long of, you know, being this entrepreneur of her own business and stuff like that, she's very open to listening to my ideas because she knows I've done markets more than she. Like I
mm,
know them a little bit better than her. So I had to when you know when we were doing the January market, I had told her before, I just want you to be prepared that usually January and February and sometimes even March can be very slow because people are coming out of, the holiday, spending, and some vendors don't want to participate because, they don't have the money to participate, or like all these different things. So you have to be patient with the process of things. Some months is going to be great, some months is going to be low. So I had to really tell her, like, we can't expect bam, booming stuff all the time. So that's one thing. And actually, this past market, she was like a little sad. She was like, "Oh, I just feel bad for the vendors." But you went and talked to each vendor, and I had two or three vendors that have been there before, that have been joining us for the market, and they were just like, "This market was much better. Like, is better. Like, we got more business. Like, amazing things." And I had to be like,
mm,
listen to them because it was better than last month.
mm.
You don't have to feel sad because we did better. We are getting better, and we'll get there, and it will grow, and it'll be amazing, right? But it's something that she's learning how to do. Like, right, I have to be like, I have to be like, it's gonna get there. You just
Yeah.
have to be patient because this is not something that she's done before, right? She's usually, the dance studio and all these things, and but opportunities come and go. Right now, we're opening a second location in Poway for the
Oh, sweet.
studio.
Oh.
Um, so, it's growing, and we take on these little opportunities. I already have so many ideas over there because it's Poway, right? Poway and fundraising for things, and like, whoo, my brain is like, whoo. So, uh, to bring it on for her, and I just think she's amazing. Whether like I ever, you know, decide to leave that job, I know I have family there at all times. I hope I,
Before,
I hope I answered your question.
no, you did, you did. I mean, like there was, like you said, I from what I took from that part, obviously like the talking it out part, right? And actually hearing what others have to say, right? Because maybe I have my ideas, Patty has her ideas, and maybe those two ideas aren't actually the right idea for our guest or for the client, right? Maybe
Hmm.
the client wants something else. And and kind of, and what's cool also, and from what I took on that, that topic, when you said that, like, don't worry, like if these vendors said that it was better than last time. So in what in some way you guys are doing something right, right? And
Hmm.
there, and in hindsight too, seeing that there wasn't that much foot traffic, that gives you guys an opportunity to find a way to get more foot traffic in there, right?
Hmm.
So she felt that. All right, what can you guys do the next one to not
Hmm.
feel that emotion, to not feel that guiltiness of, probably not having too many vendors, right? And that's when you guys start working together, putting a plan together of marketing and whatnot. And like I said, you're gonna get there little by little, and it's just stepping stones, right? Like,
Hmm.
like I said, me and Patty, uh, and remember you said this earlier. There's not much, maybe when you first start, there's not much you can offer, but there really is more than what you can offer because service,
Mhm.
when you do a service and you make that smile in that client or guest or whatever kind of field of department you're in, it brings a light into them and memory that like, man, these guys really were genuine. They really wanted, to promote me, or they really wanted my event to go really well and whatnot. And so I think, that's what I got from out of that topic, right? It's not just necessarily like the ego part, like, no, my idea is better. No, my idea is better. Maybe it's better to listen and
Mhm.
really tackle those problems, right? Like you said, there was not much foot traffic. You're working on a marketing strategy. You did stuff better than the venue before that, So you guys are in the right trajectory. And that's where I
Mhm.
got that, even though maybe you didn't butt heads, like in parts of like, maybe like and other business partners do. And maybe who's to say you guys don't, right? There's still a long ways to go. But what was cool about that, topic was that you basically said kind of like not nip it in the bud, where it's just like we're just gonna listen. We're gonna listen to these
Mhm.
people and see what are the problems, what we can work on, what we can check off, what we can't do, what we can offer, like you said, you post it on your social media. I mean, and to be honest, uh it's kind of crazy. When I first started the monkey meals business, the meal prep business a while back, I think the most satisfaction I would get from it was more of like the support system, right? Like the people
Mhm.
sharing and posting and actually supporting you, even though they might not be buying from you, but they're supporting your dream in some sort of way. And I think that's
Mhm.
a gratification and gratitude in itself to be able to be like, wow, like yeah, things are hard on my end because obviously, what people see is like the showcase and it's not the actual like work that people are putting behind the scenes. And it could, yeah, I mean, I've been there. Like, it's just like, man, like I don't know if I want to continue. Not saying with the rentals, but I mean, I've definitely had other businesses where it's like, I don't know if I want to continue stuff like that. And just that one little post from a friend, it just puts a
Mhm.
smile on me. Like when I go on Facebook and then like I see like either you or Josh or like or someone else that from Patty's side of the family or friends post it, it just brings a smile to me because it's like even though they're not renting, they know people that I don't know, you know,
Mhm.
and maybe those people I can help, right? And and it just shows gratitude of like, wow, these guys are actually helping me and Patty achieve our dream, mainly Patty's dream, because this is her dream business. My dream is just to keep her happy. So yeah. Well, thank you so much, Roxy. It was awesome to talk to you and like talk about, the Montessori, how the school program goes, your dancing studio, how that works, and even your events. Like that's awesome. With the three things
Mhm.
that you're doing is it's phenomenal, I feel like, because you're touching the hearts of kids, at a very young age, teaching them to be the leaders of today. You're helping the leaders, who are trying to get up in life and to be successful in their business. You're helping them shine, and you're also in the dancing studio. You're also helping I believe it's Serena, her name. You're helping her dream and continue her dream of having the studio and having the classes with the minis, with the kids and whatnot, and seeing a vision that maybe other people didn't even see, right? Because like, wow,
Mhm.
like a podcast didn't start by itself. Someone started a podcast and someone followed a podcast, right? And then that person trickled down to more podcasts and more podcasts, until it got to me. And I'm like, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to talk to people, talk about their dreams, talk about their visions, talk about, stuff like that. And, it's really cool having this conversation with you because a lot of, like, I reflect a lot of it with you. And, obviously we played soccer a lot back then. Obviously I had an injury and that kind of took me out. But
You
we always
played?
gotcha. Okay, I feel you. All right. Got you. All right, I understand. But as you can see, Roxy has a different side on the side of the podcast. But before we leave off, how can people reach you for the Montessori if they have questions of, taking their kids to those type of schools? How can they reach you for the dance studio, and how can and business owners out there, small business owners, how can they reach you for the events?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Miss Roxy Montessori. which is MISSROXYMONTESSORI. And then the dance studio is at Deseo Studios, DESEOSTUDIOS. I hope I spelled that right. But yeah, so the sales studios, we're on social media, and then my Instagram is Roxy Montessori. Um, you know, tag me below or something where I don't know
Yeah,
where you put it
definitely. Don't worry, you'll be tagged. I got you, dude. It's gonna be on the end screen on the YouTube right
at.
there.
um, but yeah, I always have the vendor application up in my bio there on my Instagram. That's my teacher page. Obviously, if you want to follow my personal page, you can as well. I'm tagged somewhere in my teacher page. There's not much fun going on over there. Um, and you can follow my dogs too. I also, have an Instagram for my
Yeah,
dogs. I haven't posted very much. I haven't been very active on that, right? Another thing that so I wanted to throw in here, I help my mom with her marketing and her boutique for
oh, okay.
Instagram.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
so if you ever see a Marbella boutique on my Instagram or anything like that's my mom's small business. She has a boutique in Rosarito. But we can bring the clothes from over there to over here if you want to buy from her.
Question, is she a Spanish speaker only or English speaker too?
No, she speaks Spanish and English.
Ooh, maybe she could be what I kind of told you a little bit of my vision for the next part of my podcast, bringing Spanish speakers here and kind of sharing those stories to the Spanish listeners too, and living that Latino American dream.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I handle her social media. So if you would look at my Instagram, like thing when when you switch accounts, I have like 5 different accounts. But yeah, you can if you follow my teacher page, Miss Roxy Montessori, you'll be able to see all the different small businesses I help promote, I help share, I buy from, I have at my markets, you know. So check me out, please, and follow. And you know, one thing that I would like to say is please support small businesses. Support those small businesses because nobody is going to treat you better than
Yeah.
them in the long run, you know?
It's very
So,
personal.
yeah.
It's more personal, to be honest.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Roxy. Everybody, you guys heard it. Follow Roxy, follow her dream, follow her mom's boutique. Obviously, you guys heard earlier in the podcast too. Her brother was also on the podcast a while back. Follow him if you get a chance. Listen to his story too. That story was phenomenal too. I remember you were kind of surprised when I had asked him to be on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. I
But I
mean,
saw I saw what he was doing and I thought it was cool. So
and
nice,
he's gotten bigger now.
nice,
He's
sweet.
gotten bigger and better. And, he is an inspiration to kids as well. I
Sweet.
think it runs in the family. Um, but seeing him and how he is, like he inspires me so much. I love my brother, Jerry, Coach Jerry. I love him so much, and he is just an amazing coach. Working with these kids, and so yeah, follow him as well. If your kid plays soccer, um, put him in private lessons with him.
Question, does he do 3 years old, by the way, by chance? 3-year-old toddlers?
Um, the club that he works for, I believe, has something probably will have for them. But if you hire him for private lessons, he probably can work, and
Ooh,
he could tell you, he could probably, tell you like, oh, he's ready for this or he's ready for that, or
gotcha.
put him in soccer shots or put him in this, like he could guide you to maneuver like best
Well,
ways for your child to start. Hmm.
oh, sweet. Hell yeah. Probably got to run it back with him on a podcast one of these days, so you catch up with him and see what he's been doing. So that's kind of something I've been doing recently, catching up with people who I've had on the podcast before. Well, thank you, Roxy, so much for coming on the show. I'm obviously going to bring you back in the future. Maybe, year down, 10 months down, catch up a little bit and see what you've been up to within those projects and schooling and all that stuff. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the West Coast Initiative.
Thank you, Alex.